Hey everyone, it's Nico, and I just wrapped up playing through Echoes of Wisdom, which at the time of recording this has only been out for a week, and I managed to put in quite a bit of time. I was really busy last week when it originally released, but over the last few days I had a bunch of time, sank a bunch of hours into it, and ultimately took way longer to finish it than I probably could have because I got lost in so much of the side questing and exploration, and that just goes to tell you how much fun I actually had playing through this. So I'm pretty excited to talk about it, and since I haven't covered the Legend of Zelda franchise on my channel yet, I do want to mention that I'm a huge fan of the franchise. I have been my entire life, ever since I was a kid, which that's a pretty cliche thing to say, and that could mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people. Maybe you're a lot younger than me and you were born in the Nintendo 64 era and your first Zelda game was Ocarina of Time. Maybe you were born in the GameCube era and your first game was Wind Waker or Twilight Princess. But for me, my entire life means the entire lifespan of the Zelda franchise. I was born a few years before the NES original, and I've played this series throughout the entirety of my life. Every single game. I've loved pretty much every one of them, with the exception of maybe I wasn't crazy about the DS era of Zelda titles, but as a kid, a huge fan of the franchise just in general. I had the merchandise, I was Link for Halloween in 1989, I always got Christmas gifts that were Zelda themed, so this franchise as a whole is very near and dear to my heart. I always get these games day one, and this is the first one that has released since I started making content consistently on my channel. I started doing videos back in December of 2023, so obviously Tears of the Kingdom released prior to that, so I played through that just for fun. Obviously didn't record anything, wasn't making content yet, so this is really my first opportunity to talk about the Zelda franchise as a whole. And don't get it wrong, I played through this game 100% just for me, because I knew I would have fun with it. But ultimately, I have so much passion for the franchise, it felt like a waste to not make a video on it. So I did record some gameplay while I was playing through it. It's almost all going to be like the first half of the game, and I'm not going to show anything that spoils any parts of the story. So you don't have to worry about that if maybe you haven't finished this yet, or if you haven't played it yet. Everything here, story-wise, will be spoiler-free. So with that brief history of my background with the franchise out of the way, what is Echoes of Wisdom? Now, Echoes of Wisdom to me was a breath of fresh air for the franchise, not just because it was a proper 2D Zelda that wasn't a remake like some of the others we've gotten over the years, but because you play as Zelda and she plays completely different than Link does. And at first, I wasn't entirely sure if I was going to enjoy this throughout the entirety of the game, because it does take some getting used to with the way it controls and the way you use the Echo Wand to conjure up different items and monsters. There's a lot of mobility that you can do in this game with boxes and even beds. It's crazy how useful a bed is in this game. I use the bed throughout like the entire game, and that's one of the first things you get. I used it consistently to make staircases. So because there's such a wide variety of things you can learn and duplicate with the Echo Wand, it allows you to really tackle this game in a way that's most likely completely unique to you and your playstyle. I'm almost positive that at least a few different times throughout this game that I tackled the puzzle or the task at hand in a way that was not necessarily the intended way, and made things work and got to locations that I don't think I belonged in at that point where I was while playing through this. But just a brief overview of the story, and this is stuff that was shown in like the debut trailer and stuff like that, so this is not spoilers, and this is like literally the first 30 minutes of the game, is that the basic premise is that Zelda was captured by Ganon. Link defeats Ganon, but prior to getting sucked into a rift, he manages to get an arrow off and save Zelda from this crystal she's encapsulated in. So now Link is captured, but Zelda is free. So Zelda sets out on an adventure through Hyrule to find the mystery behind these rifts and what happened to Link, who she doesn't really seem to know at the start of the game. She learns about him over the course of her adventure. In Echoes of Wisdom, there's a bunch of different types of gameplay mechanics that you'll have to interact with. In the very beginning, you're introduced to some stealth, and if you get captured, for example, you'll be thrown back in your jail, and then you'll have to try again. So there is some stealth. There are some elements of Link's sword fighting, as very early on you do gain access to his sword, and you have an energy meter, and you can use his sword and his shield. Very briefly, this meter will deplete. There's ways to refill it. So it does have some of Link's gameplay mechanics to Zelda's kit, but the majority of what you're going to do is going to be interacting with this Echo Wand that you're given from your fairy companion, Tri. And Tri accompanies you throughout the entirety of the adventure and is not at all annoying like Navi was in Ocarina of Time, so you don't have to worry about that. But Tri is actually really helpful and can be used in various ways to also help you throughout your journey, like using Tri to grab items at a distance and move them around, and the item will move as you move on the screen. So there's a lot of different gameplay mechanics and variety to it as a result of these things, and you'll need to use everything at your disposal in order to progress, and I really like that about it. There's a massive map for you to traverse and to explore in, and it has all of your typical biomes that you would expect in a Zelda game. There's your forest and your fields and your desert, your snow area and your lava area, your wetlands and lakes and all that sort of stuff. And it's really enjoyable to explore this world. Every nook and cranny felt like it had something to incentivize you to explore it further, whether that be rupees or crafting materials for your smoothies, pieces of heart, or might crystals to increase your energy meter. There's so many things in this game that are worth seeking out to expand Zelda's kit and also to make Zelda more powerful. You can also equip accessories, which initially you can only equip one of, but again, you can upgrade Zelda in a way that will allow you to equip up to 5 total. So Echoes of Wisdom does a really, really great job of making you want to explore, do side quests, play the mini games. What's over there? What's over here? Is there something hidden down here? Is that a bombable wall? There's so many different things for you to tinker with and to really, really incentivize you exploring. And I got lost in it for quite a few hours. There were many times where I was doing, my main storyline quests, and then it was like, hey, I have this new ability or these new echoes that I think can help me get to new areas, so I'm gonna go explore. And before I knew it, a few hours had gone by, so there's that. Another thing I really enjoyed about Echoes of Wisdom is that it taps into almost the entire back catalog of Zelda titles. You're going to run into familiar NPCs, enemies, even bosses, items. There's so many nods to past Zelda games, and you don't necessarily need to have played all the previous Zelda games, but there are things in there that you're most likely going to miss or not understand that they're a nod to a previous title if you haven't played a particular one before. There's quite a few little bits of the map that are reminiscent to A Link to the Past, which for me is my all-time favorite 2D Zelda game. And when I saw these, I couldn't help but smile. I don't really know from a storyline and timeline perspective where this game falls, but seeing these remnants of dungeons from A Link to the Past did bring a smile to my face and kind of made me sit there for a moment and just take it all in. So if you have played a bunch of the previous Zelda games, expect to run into a ton of familiar faces. Lots of the NPCs and the different races like the Gorons and the Zoras, all of their inclusions made sense and really helped to move the narrative along in Echoes of Wisdom. Another way that they really reward their fan base is if you happen to have some of the Legend of Zelda series amiibo, there are additional costumes you can unlock with the amiibo. And initially you can't get these. There's a certain point of the game where it'll allow you to start getting outfits. So these are just color swaps of outfits you can acquire in the game. So if you don't have amiibo, no worries. You're not really missing out on much other than a few outfits that are a color swap. And then besides that, the amiibo 3 a day just allow you to get some materials for your smoothies. Fighting the different enemies and being able to use the Echo Wand to conjure them up after you've defeated one and have them fight by your side was really fun. I had my favorites that I kind of leaned on throughout the course of the game, but using these to fight against bosses was really different and satisfying for a Zelda game. There's so many different ways that you can tackle so many different things in this game that it made it feel really enjoyable. I never really felt stumped where I had to look something up, which typically Zelda games have at least a few puzzles that really kind of stump me and frustrate me. There was only one here that was probably like 2/3 of the way through the game where I was completely perplexed on what I was supposed to do and had to look it up, and then it made sense when I looked it up, but I don't think I ever would have figured it out. So don't expect too much of that. Something else that was really different from previous Zelda games to me is that the way you heal in this felt really different because hearts felt really scarce. They did drop occasionally, but it seemed like it wanted you to really focus on crafting smoothies, which is the main thing you're going to craft in this game. There's a bunch of different types of materials you'll acquire, and there's a smoothie booth or shop, I guess, that you can interact with, and there's a Deku that can craft smoothies, and then you'll learn recipes, and you can really craft a wide range of these. There's 70 total smoothies, and some of them will also do other things other than just healing you, like refill your energy meter or make you immune to fire or ice or lightning and things like that. Maybe they'll let you swim faster. There's a pretty heavy focus on the smoothies, and you can carry quite a few of these. But there is also a few bottles that you can acquire through side quests and things like that that allow you to catch fairies or buy potions in the shops in some of the towns. Those two things definitely felt like the main ways that they wanted you to heal throughout this. Those are pretty much the main things that felt different than previous Zelda titles, were the way you heal and also the way you interact with the Echo Wand and how much mobility, especially verticality, you can get. Being able to like jump on top of trees is something we're not used to in Zelda games. So there is like actually a little bit more emphasis on platforming in this as a result. You can jump in this right from the beginning, which obviously there's been Zelda games in the past, even 2D ones where you could jump, but usually you need like an item to do it. Here you could jump right from the start, and it's an essential part of the gameplay. Now that kind of brings me to a few of my gripes with it as a whole, and these are kind of minor things, but things that kind of visually rub me the wrong way. Is the first, and I apologize if you play this and you didn't really notice it, and I'm going to make you not able to unsee it now, but there's like this blur effect that is going around the edges of the screen, and I kind of find it distracting. When you're higher up on cliffs and stuff like that, there's a lot of blur to the terrain below you that also looks kind of weird. I think it's like a perspective type of thing, and it makes a little bit of sense there, but there's always like this blur going around the edges of the screen. I don't know if maybe it's helping to assist with performance or something like that, but I found it kind of off-putting and annoying to look at when I did notice it for the first time. And to go along with that, the performance at times does dip a little bit. It doesn't dip into the unplayable range, but it does have some kind of slowdown and little skips here and there that you'll notice when there's a lot going on screen. My last complaint has to do with how you scroll through your echoes that you've acquired. In the beginning, it's not too bad when you only have like maybe a few of them, But there's a ton of these, and when you have a bunch of them later on, sometimes it can be a little bit cumbersome because you only have a single row of them to scroll through and choose which one you want. So this kind of forced me to really rely on a handful of them that were sorted towards the beginning of my list. And you can sort the list in different ways, and you can always pause the game and go to the encyclopedia and pick through it that way, but that takes too long and is even more cumbersome. I wish they would have maybe put these in 2 rows, or maybe allowed you to have like a row of favorites, like maybe set 5 to 10 favorites and then scroll through the rest. I don't know. I think there's things they could have done to make this a little bit better, and it doesn't ruin the experience, but expect it to slow the gameplay down a tiny bit. But even with these things said, overall, I enjoyed Echoes of Wisdom so much. I honestly didn't even really want to beat it. I wanted to make this video like a few days ago, but I kept just getting lost in side questing and just wanting to play the game instead of working on a video for it. And although this is my decision to do a video, and I'm doing this for fun, and if nobody watches this, I don't really care because I had fun talking about it, that point really just does highlight how much I really enjoyed this game. In the beginning, I wasn't too sure how I was going to feel about it because of how different it is. But ultimately, it felt like a breath of fresh air to me, and I had so much fun playing through it. And I'm going to go back to it after I finish this video because there's things that I haven't found. I'm missing a few pieces of heart. I'm missing some might crystals. There's some mini games and some other side quests that I can complete. And it was such a good use of my time, and I had so much fun with it that I hope Nintendo keeps the 2D Zeldas alive while also doing the very successful 3D Zeldas, because both of these are masterpieces. Tears of the Kingdom, I had so much fun with. Echoes of Wisdom, I had so much fun with. I just think there's a world where both 2D and 3D Zeldas can coexist. So I hope Nintendo stays on this path. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. Comment below if you played this. Let me know what you thought. If you have any questions maybe. And I'll be sure to get back to you. But until next time, have a good one.